Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to our virtual cloud panel. Today, we're discussing cloud from security to strategy to emerging technologies. I'm your host, Amanda Ziadeh, Director of Content with WashingtonExec, and our panelists today are David Bottom, CIO of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Jim McGinn, Chief Technology Officer for 1159, and Ravi Raghava, Vice President of Cloud Solutions, Defense and Civilian with SAIC. Thank you all so much for being here today. Right. My first question for each of you is, how long have you been working with cloud, and what are you currently focused on in your positions when it comes to cloud? David, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. Good to be with everybody this afternoon. Well, how long have we been working with cloud? Seems like forever, but I think reality probably for the last 10 or so years, I've been fortunate enough to engage in this space from at the agency level, from an industry perspective, and then from a policy perspective. So, just have those bringing those different advantages together.
Awesome, thank you. And Jim?
So I've been working with cloud since about 2007, about a year after AWS came out. At one of my prior firms, we really saw it as an opportunity to take advantage of the things that we had been doing in data centers from an analytics and an application development standpoint, and be able to build applications for our customers much faster. At the time, I was a developer, so I was hooked immediately on being able to do things faster, quicker, and cheaper. And since then, it's continued to evolve over time. I love it.
All right, wonderful. And Ravi?
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. So I've been working in cloud technologies for about 15 years now. It has been an exciting journey, starting with commercial enterprises, now to supporting public sector for the last 9 years. I started my work in public sector with NASA, leading NASA's cloud program, helping them migrate over 100 plus applications to the cloud and establishing various as a service offering in cloud. In the last 9 years, I had the privilege of supporting customers like Navy, SEC, working with Dave, CMS, and many other customers. Had the privilege of working with leaders like Dave and several other leaders. So I'm currently focused on supporting defense and civilian customers, including state and local, helping them in their cloud strategy, digital transformation journey, and multi-cloud deployment models. And I enjoy solving our customers' mission-critical problems.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for giving us a bit of background. So, Jim, I understand that cloud is the foundation of your company's work and what it delivers to clients. So when it comes to cloud strategy and migration, what are some key factors here as organizations and agencies migrate to cloud? And can you share any lessons learned?
Yeah, so we've been supporting here at 1159 public sector and commercial organizations, and state and local governments and federal organizations all really face a lot of the same challenges with cloud. The very first thing that's important is to have the commitment from the leadership, the CIO and the directors of the organizations from the business side, having a solid strategy with which to execute that mission on is very, very important. Having a foundational architectural approach and making sure that the infrastructure and security is set up. Next is making sure that you have a great way to cost and pay for it. With cloud spend, it's much different than data center spend. So it's an operating expense as opposed to a capital expenditure. And so the way that agencies have to budget for it and manage it is very different. So that's important. As far as lessons learned, I think the biggest thing that I've seen over the years is needing the commitment from every single person in the organization, from the CIO to the agency director to the users and the business leaders that own those applications and the data that's going to ultimately go into the cloud. When organizations are committed from top to bottom, I typically see a lot of great success. When organizations are not committed, you typically see a fractured organization. You might see pockets that are successful, other pockets that don't want to participate in those kind of endeavors. And so I think that is the foundational thing that I see. We're well past, is the technology working? Can it be secure? It's really about the commitment to, drive change and be different in those organizations.
Yeah, that makes sense. You often hear it's not a technology problem, it's a people or processes problem. So yeah, thank you for sharing. So Ravi, similarly, can you speak to cloud strategy as it pertains to adopting a multi-cloud approach? What are the benefits to defense and civilian agencies when it comes to multi-cloud, and what are some key factors in adopting a multi-cloud strategy?
Absolutely. Great question, Amanda. So customers have very specific business needs, and all federal customers do not have same or similar requirements. To simply put it, one size does not fit all. So adopting a multi-cloud strategy for a defense or a civilian agency involves assessing their current state, understanding their mission needs, and leveraging the capabilities of multiple cloud service providers to meet agency-specific business needs, right? So there are several benefits to deploying a multi-cloud strategy. Let me cite a few, right? Number one, for instance, different cloud service providers excel in providing various services and features, right? This facilitates agencies to meet diverse business needs by leveraging a variety of service offerings. Two is like cost optimizations. Organizations can essentially benefit from most cost-effective services from all these CSPs. Three, avoiding any type of risks and vendor lock-in, right? So a multi-cloud approach helps in avoiding vendor lock-ins and security breaches or any changes in service offerings. So, and lastly, future-proofing some of the innovations, like leveraging evolving trends and next-gen solutions like generative AI or artificial intelligence-powered, solutions. But as there are significant benefits, there are also challenges associated, with a multi-cloud, right? So because we want to talk both about the pros and the cons, right? So in a multi-cloud environment, you will be managing resources across multiple CSP platforms, and that can be complex. Two, agencies need people with specialized skill set, as Jim was kind of citing earlier, right? So we need specialized people with appropriate skill set to manage the multi-CSP environment. And three, most of the agencies require authorization to operate or authority to operate, simply called as ATO, for each of those CSP environments, and ATO for applications deployed on the respective environments, right? So these can be time consuming and required, time and effort, significant time and effort, I would say. In addition, appropriate security concerns need to be addressed with right policies, guardrails that needs to be established, right? So to fully realize the benefits of multi-cloud, agencies need best practices, standardized processes, tools, people with expertise, and thorough knowledge of government policies and frameworks, including, President Biden's executive orders, and all those, are some of the factors to consider. This is where, integrators like SAIC shine really well. Today, we support the U.S. Air Force and our programs on multiple CSP platforms, which we are really proud of. And we leverage what is called as a time-tested, a proven framework, namely CloudSend, which is our digital transformation framework, which is essentially loaded with best practices and pre-integrated tool sets. We have migrated over 300 plus applications across 4 different CSPs, leveraging all of these best practices learned from, Air Force, T-Cloud, Navy, and others. This is what we kind of bring to our other customers, for example, Dave at the SEC, right? So we need all those best practices, people with right skill sets and appropriate processes with guardrails and compliance in order to be very successful, right? Finally, a viable option for most agencies is to start with one CSP platform and then add additional CSP platforms based on their business needs, essentially. Back to you, Amanda.
Of course, makes sense. All right, so Dave, can you briefly share with us the SEC's cloud migration journey? What approach has the SEC taken, and have any of the strategies we've discussed played a key role in the adoption of cloud in the agency?
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. So, to pick up on Ravi and Jim's point, that the Commission has adopted a multi-cloud approach in terms of our overall technology environment. So, I got here right at the start of the pandemic. I started in January of 2020. So our first cloud service was actually our video conferencing service. We, as you might imagine, a huge demand for video conferencing to be accessed remotely. So that was typical. I think a good example of defining what our business needs were, and then looking for the best in class service to meet those needs. And that's been the path that we've taken in terms of doing the the due diligence in terms of what our environment is, where it needs to go from a mission and subsequent application standpoint, factoring in where industry is going, right? So Ravi, and Jim both mentioned providers. Well, I mean, if we're going to be adopters in this space, so we need to understand what the providers are doing and where they're going. The other thing that's driving our adoption, of course, is just the phenomenal increase in data volumetrics that we continue to experience in the commission, both in terms of the data that we're ingesting, the data that we're providing out to the investing public, and the need to keep all of that and to keep all of that secure. So looking at the best practices in terms of looking towards software as a service first, as I pointed out with our video conferencing example, looking to invest in platforms where that makes sense, and then adopting infrastructure as a service. And so it's as we've picked our spots there, then going back and taking the people component. So one of the initiatives that we started here has been a College of IT. So we have different curriculums, if you will, for different roles within the commission, both from a user standpoint and an IT standpoint, to teach folks what's different about operating in a SaaS or a PaaS as opposed to what folks were used to when everything was running in a data center. Leveraging all of the best practice application development processes, whether it's DevSecOps, as kind of the example there, and then what the ramifications are on the security side. So teaching all of that in our college, and then giving folks opportunities to practice and then become proficient is how we're dealing with on the people side, and then all of the processes that come with that. So as you might imagine, as I talk about at the SEC, we're both a regulator, but we're also regulated. So all of our processes are. We get a lot of attention. I'll just say that. So, making sure that we're updating and modernizing our processes to leverage what's out there in the marketplace is of course something that we pay a lot of attention to.
All right. And Dave, you briefly touched on security, but I want to make sure that we give some time to security, as this is obviously an extremely important factor for government and industry alike. So how are you or each of you securing cloud computing systems or helping federal customers do so? Jim, I'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you. Security has been at the forefront of either successful or failed migrations for more than a decade. As someone who personally spent a good portion of their career working in U.S. intelligence, security was very, very important. The way that we go about securing our infrastructure and applications in the cloud is, first, if an organization is cloud ready, we will inherit the security posture that those organizations have set up and use it for the applications and data that we build. In other cases, organizations haven't yet started their cloud journey, so we'll take advantage of FedRAMP in the federal space to integrate and use the core services from a security standpoint that are provided by the cloud service providers. So that allows us to take and inherit those security services and then layer in what we need for security compliance. For some of our state and local clients, we actually are using StateRAMP, which is essentially FedRAMP, and having a lot of the same conversations there. And even in the commercial sector, we're seeing organizations really try to adopt FedRAMP as a best practice for security. It's important to make sure that you have a security framework, a security architecture, a security plan in place. If you are working in healthcare, you need to make sure you have HIPAA compliance and PHI compliance. National security has different rules, and regulatory agencies have different rules as well. Making sure that you have the right identity and access management, security auditing, all the core tools and rules for developers who are going to work in those environments to make sure that they can only do what the organization wants them to do. And the last thing I'll leave you with is we start security conversations on day one of any new project that we're doing. Typically, an organization would say, we're going to start with the business requirements first. We do the business requirements and the security requirements in tandem to make sure that we're building security in on day one from all of our applications. And a former Intel client of mine once said, you will be more secure in the cloud on your worst day than you would be secure in a data center on your best day. And that's a saying that's kind of stuck with me for many, many years.
And Ravi, how is SAIC handling cloud security?
Yeah, security is definitely my favorite topic. And so as Jim kind of alluded to, FedRAMP. So I'll add a little bit more context to that, right? Implementing proper security controls, being compliant with frameworks such as FedRAMP, NIST 800-53, or the risk management framework, simply RMF, and being compliant with execute orders, like those are key, right? And fundamentally, following the principles of least privileges, limiting access to only what is necessary to reduce the risk of unauthorized actions is also key. Utilizing multi-factor authentication to add an extra layer of security for user authentication, right? So MFA has been proven very successful, very effective in a multi-cloud environment. And adopting a zero trust approach, having a zero trust architecture where trust is never assumed and continuous verification is mandatory, right? And lastly, continuously monitoring and auditing your cloud environment to identify and rectify potential vulnerabilities. These are some of the best practices, in my view, to adopt and keep in mind in a multi-cloud environment where security is, is important, for any agency.
Of course. All right. And Dave, your perspective from the SEC.
Yeah, we made a pick up on Jim and Ravi's points. So the way I tend to look at it on the cloud security topic is really in four areas. The first area is make sure that we're doing the basic blocking and tackling when it comes to inventory, and that could be certainly the inventory users, to pick up on Ravi's point about zero trust and understanding where our users are, who they are, what their privileges are, is job one. Job two is keep track of our data assets. One of the things that's inherent in a multi-cloud environment is your data can move between environments, right? And that's we certainly want that to happen for legitimate business reasons, but we also need to know where our data is at any given point in time. Same with applications and services. So just really paying attention to inventory is a huge line of effort for us. Part two, I think, is we are dealing in a multi-cloud environment with they're at the end of the day they're all managed services. So really an emphasis on understanding what the shared responsibility model is between providers, the consumer is important for us, and then and that goes to the last area, and I think Ravi mentioned this, is the monitoring piece. To me, all of that comes down to logging. So making sure that we are taking in the appropriate logs from all of our providers, understanding what the events are that we should be looking for as we get the logs then. So we're lot, I think, in each of those lines of effort, but that's the way I tend to think about cloud security.
All right, wonderful. I appreciate you all for joining today, for sharing your insights and your thoughts. Thank you so much.